Hello, welcome to the Wealth Transfer News, where we are just one of a handful of truly authentic news sources, not part of the 1,000 we talked about last week. I'm Terry Sacka, Chief Strategist, along with Dr. Charles Vance. How are you doing, Charles?
Good, Terry. I hope you're doing well as well.
I'm glad to be part of a truthful news source. I know we had talked about distractions. We talked about all this multiple venues of information. And it's dawning on us that we as Americans are really acting slow to the reality in front of us. Now, we did last year get a little hyped up, I think, getting ready for what they would call the Shemitah.
We got a little hyped up?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not even counting the election stuff. That's a wholly off target.
Okay. I thought
because that was obvious. I mean, we're talking about an anti-Christ Luciferian versus possibly having some freedom. So it was important. But what we're getting at is we are putting information, so much information into our minds. What is true? And I keep thinking, we got this news source where we're trying to be very factual with information. We know we have a tremendous audience. You're just wonderful people. And even in Wealth Transfer News Radio, the cities that we're in, just tremendous audiences. They contact us and encourage us, and it's just wonderful. And you can go to wealthtransfernews.com, listen to the daily radio if you wanted to. The TV shows are on there as well. So please visit there and make sure you're part of the whole media flow.
Here is the danger in listening to everything.
Yes.
The danger in listening to everything biblically. I'm going to say biblically why it's dangerous. James said if you mix cursing and blessing, he compared it to mixing salt water and fresh water together. So I've asked people, what happens if you take a nice container of fresh water and you put a little bit of it in salt water? What do you still have? You got salt water. What if you take just a little bit of the salt water and put it in the fresh water? What do you have? So it's a contamination. Anytime that we hear things that's inaccurate, it starts to contaminate the truth. And it's dangerous for us. Jesus said, pay attention to what you hear, pay attention to how you hear it. The reason is because he said, what you hear is going to come back to you. The way you measure it is the way it's going to be measured back into your life again. So it's going to multiply that way. So that's really important if you believe the Bible, and I do, and I believe that's a life principle, that what you ingest, whether you see it, however you catch it, however you expose yourself to it, it's going to, at the very least, if it's stuff that is false, if it's fake, if it's something deceiving, it's going to taint the truth that you've got inside of you.
Yeah.
Solomon said, guard your heart with all diligence, because out of it flow the issues of life. So it's very important for us to do that.
And that's probably why we have a lot of Christians in general who just didn't see straight and still don't to this day. I mean, I'm not beating up on Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, he's gone now, so that's excellent. But, here's a guy who supposedly was, even in his farewell speech, talks about faith in church. I'm thinking, that's like impossible. He was the only senator who really was pushing for and advocating third-term abortion, where they literally are babies and they break the necks. He was an advocate of selling off the baby body parts of Planned Parenthood. He's the advocate of bringing in all these Islamic refugees that all they want to do is do Sharia law and destroy Christianity. He was there allowing, hey, you might be homosexual, I guess, do it. But he brought it all out, opened the Pandora's box, and then allowed them to attack the church. Go after the church, Houston mayor. So you can go on and on and on. So here's all the fruit. And the Bible says you know them by their fruit. So, and now how many Christians still, and I don't know if it was for color or not, I think that's ridiculous. Who cares about the guy's skin color? It's about what he does and who he is. Marxist socialists. Christians who stood for that.
Hey, and here's an
deceived.
Example. Look at Ben Carson. What a powerful man of God he is. I would have voted for him for president if he would have gotten there. Yeah. I'm so thankful that he's in the position that he's in, because he's very vocal about the truth of God's word. I'm thankful for people like that.
Well, and then that's the truth we're getting at is, here are Christians, we should not be this distracted. We should not be this deceived. And so just kind of, leaving where we're going, because we got to get into some of the banking stuff this week. But last week we were talking about distraction and all the different media sources and outlets and what we're dealing with. We don't know. And that's why a big chunk of the church, or supposedly people who committed themselves to Jesus Christ as Lord, still fell in and fell for somebody who was blatantly, obviously a wolf in sheep's clothing. Or extremely deceived, and not that he's doing it consciously, who knows? Either way, it's Lucifer's work. So, and then now you got to take that information. So I say that because there was nothing good economically. President Hussein Obama came in at a $10 trillion, $9 and a change trillion dollar deficit, left with 20. He was in charge of expanding our deficit by $10 trillion, yet we have less manufacturing jobs. 87% of jobs created were part-time, lower standard of living, and higher cost of goods and services. So you see, we spent all this time and money, and yet somehow there's this narrative that he did good. Now I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I'm going to say this. I have a theory. The media spent all this time pumping up Obama's and his recovery and the record and low unemployment, which is a lie. Real unemployment is 24%. And all and on and on. Now, if I have to guess, mainstream media, your NBCs, Communist News Network, all of them, they are on the bandwagon for the socialism, and which is the one world order socialist. They just are. So they're doing this to show, hey, under his watch, under a socialist, Marxist type of thing, we can do better. Our nation can be great. And then they're going to see the collapse financially that's coming to Donald Trump. They're going to crash it on purpose on his watch. The data, if you've been watching our show, and if you haven't, go back and look at the series. If you've been watching the show, the data economically literally has already collapsed in the fall of 2015. Conveniently, the Shemitah style. It already did. All the data says it. I'm saying all of it. But the media has kept it alive, and the plunge protection team, which is the Federal Reserve and the bankers, have kept it alive by buying and selling stocks and bonds in the market with fake printed money. And you don't realize this because you're getting the wrong media source. So here we're being set up. This was already supposed to collapse over a year ago. And don't think it's not coming because the data says so, you see. So we're being distracted, wrong news sources, and people in the kingdom are not preparing. God forbid they even think about emergency food now because Trump's going to save the day. Trump will be the best manager, but he cannot stop what's coming. Don't stop thinking and preparing with real assets, real wealth, tangible like silver. Because in the end, if you understood the dynamics of the silver market, which is constitutional money, you would have been there a long time ago. And by the way, a lot wealthier for doing so.
Anybody or any government that advocates taking from someone who has worked hard and giving it to someone that refuses to work, taking what someone earns and spreading wealth around or redistributing their wealth is anti-biblical. All you have to do is read Matthew chapter 25. Jesus said you take from the guy that refused to do anything with it and give it to the guy that will work it and multiply it.
Right.
God's always on the side of producers, not consumers. Now I know we all have to consume to some degree, but He's looking for a producer to bless. Someone who will just stand up and say, I'm going to work, I'm going to make sure this works, I'm going to do it the way God said to do it. I'm going to multiply it. When I multiply it, it's going to benefit me, but it's going to benefit other people as well. And that's where God wants us to be. So, I mean, you were talking about the government and how it's becoming socialistic. People really need to study and see what a socialistic government is and what it leads to. Look at the stuff that's going on in South America right now.
Well, that's the whole point. You have Argentina, Venezuela.
They're starving.
They're starving, and they're eating dogs and animals.
Literally.
I know, literally. The point is, it's not going to stop. And so here I outlined the president because I was trying to show you that a lot of Christians were involved in this and they supported him. And I just don't understand how you can and make Jesus Christ your Lord. At the same time, you're now being deceived financially. And we're going to get into some descriptions. I know some people may have already seen this, but we're going to get into some great descriptive videos of banking rules. And what you didn't notice is when President Obama took office and the Democrats were in control of Senate and the House. They went and passed something called Dodd-Frank. In that banking law, they actually have something known as bail-ins, meaning the money you have in the bank isn't your money anymore. Defined, the money in the bank actually belongs to the bank. You're giving the bank a loan. It's so insane. If you knew how they can take your money if those banks collapse, and those banks are all insolvent.
They can default the loan.
Well, they absolutely can.
So
exactly.
Technically, it's a loan to them, so if they default the loan, you lost your money.
And that's exactly what the bail-in will be. They'll be taking your savings.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into some of those videos after this, but I would highly take advantage of the offer being put forth by Cornerstone. I know they're putting in a 10th-ounce silver coin, too, those packages for folks that are interested in transferring IRAs and protecting themselves. So let's take a break and take a look at this.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you secure your financial future by protecting and preserving your assets through silver and gold. The protection and preservation of your investment is our first goal. So we are here to serve you with honesty, transparency, and respect. And for a limited time, Cornerstone will waive your first-year transfer and setup fees when you roll over your current IRA into a gold or silver IRA. That can save you as much as $1,000. Take control of your future. Register on our website at cornerstoneassetmetals.com or give us a call at 888-747-3309. At Cornerstone, securing your future is our goal.
Now, banking. We think our money is safe in the bank, and it is not. Now, they passed this law, and all the statistics we're telling you is true. Just because the tidal wave has not hit, I know if I have to guess, now this is a little bit conspiratorial, probably because they never were going to do it on Barack's watch. They're going to wait. This was all a grand scheme to make him look like a good guy, and the next one coming in a bad guy. Now, if Hillary gotten in, that's why they were pushing Russia for war for so much. I really believe. I believe they wanted to get war for Russia, with Russia, and they were going to blame Russia in the war with Russia for the economic collapse. So there was a dynamic narrative. We've been talking about this for well over a year, and it's a setup. So they had a plan, and who is they? The globalists. So let's get into doing some of this banking in these banking videos. I want you to see really what we're talking about. You think your money's safe in the bank, and it is not. And if you don't understand a derivative is something that gets its value for something else. And believe it or not, they snuck in an defense authorization bill just a few years ago, that when a bank collapses, derivatives get paid back first, secures creditors second, and you are last. It's not your money. And by the way, it's not just the bank. It's your brokerage firm as well. I'm just saying, all I am is the watchman, so
now,
you can heed.
It can be your money if you hold tangible assets like silver
yes.
and gold. I mean, you can hold it yourself.
Yes. Well, absolutely. And this is kind of our point.
Yeah.
Why are we in the systems of the world when we could have our assets no one controls, no one has a part of, and yet is actually more valuable than anything else since 9/11? Best asset class since 9/11. So if we do have that first clip, the first banking clip, but let's put that up and sit back and watch this. This is all real stuff.
You go shopping and your credit card transaction is denied despite the fact that you know you have money in your account. Or you go to an ATM machine and you're informed that your withdrawal request has been denied. Or you're a public official, such as a school business administrator, county treasurer, municipal finance manager, pension fund administrator, or anyone who has responsibility for protecting public taxpayer funds. You're informed that all accounts have been frozen until further notice. As you investigate why you can't access money you know should be available, you find out that the bank has failed and has been closed until further notice by the FDIC. You also discover that the government will be confiscating part of your deposits in order to stabilize the bank. You believe that this can't happen here because the FDIC protects your money. You may have placed your money into one of the big banks because it has large vaults and is protected by the government. You may have placed public monies into a large bank because they're collateralized and the government will back them. Therefore, you think these funds are safe. all of these assumptions are not based on the facts. Perhaps you recall that in Cyprus, depositors' money was confiscated in order to stabilize the banks. Similar plans are already in place to do the same in the U.S. and other countries.
When they say that, by the way, that is written in the law. And I want you to understand that you don't hear a lot about it, obviously, for obvious reasons. They don't want you to take your money out, right? We have a lot of reports at Cornerstone about people having very difficult time getting their money from where it's coming from. They don't want you to take it. And so you're fighting against yourself. You're stuck with your financial advisor, someone you've been with for probably a long time. It's a relationship. And yet they've never even had you in the best performing asset that you could have been in. Since 9/11, you'd be instantly wealthier if you were just in silver. So the thing is, it's a war on cash. It's a collapsing Western economic system. And if you haven't heard a lot about, you hopefully should have, India just overnight a few weeks ago declared that two of their largest currency bills were no longer worth anything, and they had to turn them in.
Now, what they didn't give people smaller currency for them?
Well, here's the catch. You turned in your currency to get smaller ones. Problem is they didn't have enough of the smaller ones. And what they did is they took 85% of the currency out of circulation, and people no longer had money. And half the Indians, they don't have bank accounts and credit cards. And
so it's just cyber money.
Cyber money now. And these people don't have credit cards or bank cards.
I've been there.
Yeah, I know. And so this has been catastrophic for the Indian people. And they even started putting restrictions and going in their houses and raiding gold. And that's why the Indians are going into silver, because gold is considered money. So I'm not exactly a fan of gold because I'm not sure I can trust it, being that it's money. Silver, on the other hand, is industrial, and there's just no way they can take silver because every business needs it for industry. But the Indian government overnight has caused firestorm, and I believe this is test markets. What you just saw there with Cyprus is just an aspect of it. India was the test market for cashlessness. Now, they're not going to get to America with a cashless society anytime soon, but many of you already have fallen into that trap. You don't carry cash with you. I can't imagine why not. But, you're stuck. You're become a slave to a system if we allow cashless society to take hold. And it just happened in India now.
I just had a niece that went to work for a banking system, for a big bank here in our community. And we started talking about it, but she didn't have any clue about the currency system. She had no idea what it was. And I said something about a run on the banks, and she said, well, you can't get money from the bank. She said, if somebody comes in and wants $15,000 cash, we have to order it.
Right.
So they have to get the cash from somewhere else, because you and I know, and I hope the folks that are watching know, that there is more money in Cyberville, however you want to call it, in the bank's computers than there is in print.
Oh, absolutely. They're about 26 on average to 1. They're leveraged out, like 26 to 1. And what he's saying is extremely true. Not only that, if you try to get $15,000 in cash out, they're going to report you to the IRS, even though it's your money.
Yep.
So this is all just absolutely anarchistly evil towards we the people. But don't think it's not legitimate. So what you think is that video was saying FDIC protected? Let's log up the second video here. Watch how this plays out. These are laws. This is truth. And we in the kingdom need to be smarter and more prepared than this.
In order to protect themselves, the Cyprus government closed the banks 12 days, and people had limited access to their money. Long lines formed at the ATM machine.
The fact is that the confiscations in Cyprus were not a one-time event. The eventuality for this had already been planned in advance, and there are plans in place for confiscations of depositor accounts in New Zealand, the European Union, Canada, England, and the United States.
And we passed Dodd-Frank legislation. And people think, well, that's it for bailouts. No, that's not it. Actually, it's just going to be a bail-in. In order to maintain liquidity in failed banks, the European Union and the Federal Reserve have a policy of bailing in, which means you seize depositors' deposits. Those could be mom and pop, up to their $250,000. It could be a city's deposits on deposit. It could be bondholders. That's what happened in Cyprus. That's what's happening right now with the cooperative bank in London, England, and that's what the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and the Bank of England have jointly agreed to do here in the United States.
Now, this is a trap. The financial media and mainstream media have been setting us up for a trap. And the trap is giving us a perceived belief system. That's why we talked about distraction. That's why we talked about our source of information. They're no different than in movies and the brainwashing of television. They're trying to give us a perceived truth that is false, and that is Lucifer. But in the end, it's your wealth that's going to be stolen and compromised, because what's coming puts 2008 to shame. And you really have to understand that. The data says so. So, the best thing you can do for yourself, get an education. There's a tremendous offer here with Cornerstone right now about information. And I know they're throwing out a 10th-ounce silver coin for free, too, with that package for those who have IRAs to protect. That's pretty exciting stuff. So take a look at this.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you secure your financial future by protecting and preserving your assets through silver and gold. The protection and preservation of your investment is our first goal. So we are here to serve you with honesty, transparency, and respect. And for a limited time, Cornerstone will waive your first-year transfer and setup fees when you roll over your current IRA into a gold or silver IRA. That can save you as much as $1,000. Take control of your future. Register on our website at cornerstoneassetmetals.com or give us a call at 888-747-3309. At Cornerstone, securing your future is our goal.
Now, this is about retirement viability. This is about protecting what you've worked hard for in the church, in the ministry, and individually. How are we going to leave an inheritance to our children and our children's children if we're not being good stewards of what God is giving us? And so I want to show you this, and to give you kind of an idea anyway. Silver is constitutional money. We talk about that often. Article 1, Section 8 says Congress has a right to coin money. Money was defined as grains of silver. And of course, in the Bible, Job 27 says, the wicked pile up silver like dust, but in the end, it goes on to say, in the end, it'll be distributed to the innocent. Now, the reason I love that scripture is one of the oldest books in the Bible, of course, right? The reason I love that is what he's saying is the wicked pile up the wealth. But instead of in biblical money like silver, the wicked are now holding this fake stuff known as fiat printed paper. So I believe the scripture is kind of warning us that in the end, the reason it's distributed to the innocent, which are the Christians, if we get this, God said in Haggai 2:8, the gold is mine, the silver is mine. He's trying to make a point that if you stay honest, scales are a delight, dishonest scales are an abomination, paper money or dishonest. If we stayed in biblical money like silver, constitutional money that we the people are supposed to have, since 9/11, a $250,000 IRA would be worth $1 million today. You see, it's just not comparison. The numbers are the numbers. That's because we put our faith and our trust in what God gave us. And going forward, it's definitely not going to be any different. Don't be fooled by what people try to tell you. Best performing asset in the last 10 years going forward, it's going to not be any different if people understood the derivatives keeping the price down. And I'm glad it has. God bless each and every one of you that you have the ability to do this now while it's still a reasonable price. So we do have one more video. Let's plug this up because this will explain the derivative market if you think you're safe.
The large global and Wall Street banks are the ones at most risk because they've been gambling with depositor money on risky derivative bets and other speculative investment devices, which means that when, not if, these bets start going bad, the banks will be on the hook for their deficient value. According to the Bank for International Settlements, which is essentially a central bank for the world's central banks, the notional value of these derivative contracts is an astounding $700 trillion. Think 700,000 billion dollars. The entire world's GDP is only $70 trillion. There's not enough money on the planet to cover these bets. What most people don't understand is that once you give a bank your money, the money is legally no longer yours. Under the law, depositors are considered unsecured creditors to the bank and are treated as such under any bankruptcy proceeding. This type of loss happened with the collapse of MF Global. And while MF Global was a futures trading company and not a bank, the blueprint for confiscations was delivered here. The losses of customer funds were upheld by the legal system with the Sentinel case. Another important fact is this: these speculative derivatives have super priority status in a bankruptcy proceeding, which means that any derivative contract holder gets paid first, before shareholders, creditors, and depositors like you.
Telling you, it is there. Take a look at this image here as we break, because how we know it's getting close enough, look at this image over a period of time. Look at this thing as it goes. This goes all the way back into the 90s, and you see the first bump on the left, 2001, the second one, 2008. Look at that yellow line and look at that staggering amount of money printing since the 2008 collapse. It's that staggering amount of money printing on the right is the only reason why you think somehow this is a new normal. And I'm here to tell you, on all laws of economics and global economics, this is nothing but a sham on we the people's wealth. So that chart right there explains everything, is why we know it's getting real close. Because the last two times we had it at 9/11 and 2008, look how much higher and look how much further up it went. And the money printing since then, it's just a matter of time. I think Trump's going to be a scapegoat. I think it's very, very dangerous. I'm extremely concerned if we the people do not get protected. So I encourage you to get educated. I encourage you to contact for information. Don't hold off. That stock market's not going too much higher. And even if it did, 5–10%, it means nothing compared to the return on silver in the future. And at least you'll have peace of mind. So until next week, God bless each and every one of you.
Make sure that you check the website out, wealthtransfernews.com. There's information there that will enlighten you concerning what's going on financially and help you get prepared for your future. We'll see you right here next week, same place and same time, for the Wealth Transfer News.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you secure your financial future by protecting and preserving your assets through silver and gold. The protection and preservation of your investment is our first goal. So we are here to serve you with honesty, transparency, and respect. And for a limited time, Cornerstone will waive your first-year transfer and setup fees when you roll over your current IRA into a gold or silver IRA. That can save you as much as $1,000. Take control of your future. Register on our website at cornerstoneassetmetals.com or give us a call at 888-747-3309. At Cornerstone, securing your future is our goal.